always a good friend.
And let's listen to Pavarotti. Put on Pavarotti.
Welcome to The Revealing. I am your host, Pavarotti, and I'm here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. Now, as a disclaimer, this channel is for entertainment purposes. These are my opinions, and I'm not here to slander anyone. I will provide information. I will give my opinion on the information that I provide, and my opinions are mine alone. So, I want to wish everybody out there a happy Halloween. This will be my Halloween video this year. And I'm going to go ahead and release it tonight, but this will be my video for tomorrow, Halloween, just so you know. And I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. And, you know, as I was working today really hard, actual physical work, I took a moment and pulled out my phone, popped up YouTube, and noticed a community post from one of my people that, you know, only exist to annoy me, I guess. Old Vivienne, and she has in there how she's debunked the BMW Model M theory with a been verified lookup of the VIN number of the vehicle, and it's showing a different color. Well, considering the rarity of that model, and that being, I believe, our best lead in the case, I don't think I'm gonna trust a been verified VIN number lookup to address what color that vehicle was. And let's say, for instance, that vehicle was purchased a different color. Well, here you go, Vivian. I know you can't think like this, but if you think about it, when you're talking about people, these are verified to be Aryan family prison gang, okay? You know, they're diversified. They don't simply traffic narcotics. No, when they're a criminal organization, guess what else they do? Well, they traffic in goods. They steal things. They sell things that they steal. One of the main things that criminal organizations like to steal is, guess what? Vehicles. Right, but when they steal those vehicles, they don't just steal them and then they, you know, go down the street and sell them as is. No, they take them to what's called a chop shop. Okay, and in that chop shop, they have guys that will tear those things apart, rebuild them, and repaint them. So, to think that a criminal organization doesn't have the ability to take even a brand new BMW X6 exclusive Model M to their chop shop and have that thing painted a different color multiple times in a matter of weeks is not something that I would put past them. So, been verified anything that you want there, Vivian, until I see that vehicle. If I could personally see that vehicle, check the paint job, because it's real easy to tell if one's been painted. Things called orange peel, overspray. If you know where to look, you'll find it real quick. Till I actually put my eyes on it and do that, yeah, I'm not going to buy anything that you got to sell. I have a confidential source that tells me that Miss Vivian, who lives, or is at least from right there in Moscow, Idaho, could very possibly be TF's cousin. So you know what that means. If she's TF's cousin, and Bubbly Waters has informed me that TF's cousin is married to Rosie, police officer Rosie. So does that mean Vivian's married to Rosie? I don't know. Could be. Stranger things have happened. But let's move forward from all that nonsense, because, as I mentioned, I forced myself to sit and watch hours of Linda Lane footage, and I'm not done. But in the time spent watching these videos, I have grasped some new conclusions. In fact, come across something that I'm sure I'm not the first person to come across, which even more makes me wonder about the people that have been watching these videos. But, I mean, my goodness. My goodness. I mean, I've never heard of this. I mean, I've seen the videos. I've watched many breakdowns of Linda Lane footage from many different people. That's why I've never done it myself because I assumed that goodness, with all the listening and watching and all this they've done, that if anything major was found, they surely would have reported it. But I digress, because let me show you something in this video, and then when this one's done, let's go ahead and get Kohberger out of the lockup, Miss Taylor. I don't think you should need more than this. Let's get started, shall we? Okay, the first thing we do is pull up the King Road neighborhood. You'll see there is 1122 King Road, and then of course you'll see where all the cameras are that we know about, that law enforcement has. We'll see the one on 1112 King Road and which way it is facing. And then we have the two cameras on Linda Lane, one facing Linda Lane and one facing the little parking area on Linda Lane. So it's important for us to understand where these cameras are as we dive in and figure out exactly what happened here. So just so we log all the events, at 3:15 a.m., that's when we see the guy walking up Linda Lane, and he passes the dumpster right there on Linda Lane at 3:15, and he heads towards the King Road residence. So we have him involved, so let's move forward. Then at 3:30 a.m., we have a vehicle that pulls into the King Road neighborhood, drives past the King Road residence up to Linda Lane, makes a right, circles all the way around the Linda Lane apartments, back around the backside, past the King Road residence, back onto Queen Road and out of the neighborhood. This all happens at 3:30 a.m. and you'll notice this vehicle seems to know exactly the direction that it's wanting to go. No hesitation. Okay, then at 3:38, we're going to see almost the exact same thing. Vehicle pulls into the neighborhood, turns, goes down, makes a very directed pass past the King Road residence, knows exactly where the turn is on Queen Road, circles the Queen Road apartments, and then back out of the neighborhood. And you'll see the headlights coming up. And that's the key. Whenever a vehicle comes anywhere up this road, the headlights light everything up long before it ever gets there. So here's the vehicle coming up. And as it turns, it knows exactly which way it's going. And you can see this vehicle. It's taller than the other one. And you can see the back. And I got to agree, that dang thing is a Chrysler 300 all day long. Now at 3:57, we're going to see that third pass that the PCA talks about. However, after 3:57, between then and 4:04, I don't see any other headlights come up Queen Road. So that leads me to believe that the third pass of this vehicle has got to be the DoorDash driver. But the vehicle doesn't look any different than the one that made the second pass. So that also leads me to believe that that second pass was the DoorDash driver as well. So what is going on with this DoorDash driver? Are they more involved in this thing than I previously thought? It looks like possibly. But first, let's see what happens here at 3:49. You may have noticed this before, but I assure you I never have, and if I had, then this thing should have been over by now. I want you to listen real close. I've turned the volume up quite a bit so you can hear it. By the way, remember TF's red Dodge or maroon Dodge? I said it's been parked there all night, never moved, nobody's ever come to it. there's a door opening, and for some reason the dome light don't come on. Did that on purpose. There it was being shut very quietly. Now watch him walk from that car that has never moved. See him? See his head? He's wearing a dark coat. And you'll see him walk right in front of the apartments right here, heading towards the King Road residence at 3:50 a.m. Now let's run back to Pullman, Washington for just a minute. And you'll see on this map, we got Southeast Stadium Way, and then we have Highway 270. And as you go towards Moscow, you're going to see down there at Southeast Bishop, I've got 4 little yellow circles. And you'll see I've got 4 yellow circles up there at Northeast or Southeast Nevada Street and Southeast Stadium Way. Well, those are cameras that identified Hyundai Elantras per the PCA. Now, the last time they identified what they say is Kohberger's Hyundai Elantra was as it turned onto Northeast Stadium Way from Southeast Nevada Street, the cameras caught him. Now, the cameras caught him coming back that next morning right there at Southeast Bishop and 270. But that night, it never caught him going past the Bishop Boulevard lights. So that could only mean that Kohberger didn't go left towards Moscow. He went right. I've contended in the past that if you map this out perfectly time-wise, that he leaves, that he is seen at 2:53 a.m. on Stadium Way heading towards 270. If he makes a right, pulls down and picks up Bryan Kohberger, which I know is a veteran, and everybody's so uptight about talking about a veteran, yet you don't hear these same people so uptight talking about Richard Allen. He's a veteran. Oh, they won't say a thing about that. But Bryan Kohberger, they freak out, though, don't they? Wonder why that is. Don't want his name in this. So he picks up Kohberger, and then he heads west to Huawei Park, corroborated, I believe, by Cy Ray. However, if you drive exactly the way I just showed you that he drove to Huawei Park, and then he headed directly from Huawei Park into the King Road neighborhood, well, lo and behold, that would put him in the King Road neighborhood at 4:04 a.m. Now, the timelines do not lie to us. So when we go to the footage of the King Road neighborhood, we'll see at 4:04 a.m., we have a vehicle that enters the neighborhood. I believe this is our unlucky knucklehead, Bryan Kohberger. And he's going to do, I believe, exactly like the PCA states he does. He enters the neighborhood at 4:04. He drives past the King Road residence where he sees the DoorDash driver parked in the driveway, drives up, unlike the other vehicles that just made the clean right-hand turn. He's going to drive up to the end of Queen Road, and you'll see him on camera trying to figure out how to turn around because he wasn't familiar with the drive. And then he turns around and drives back, attempts to park, asks the DoorDash driver what they want to do. She says meet him up on the hill there. So he drives down, makes a 3-point turn at King Road, and then heads back up and back around the King Road or Queen Road apartments where you see him at 4:07, and that would put him parking with the DoorDash driver next to the house at roughly 4:09. So you'll see 4:05, exactly when we'd expect to see Knucklehead Kohberger because of his trip to Huawei Park. He's pulling up past Queen Road. Now look, unlike all those other vehicles that made that easy right-hand turn right there, well, he doesn't do it. He pulls up, and what the heck? He's sitting there, and we don't know where we're going. What am I doing? How do I turn around? I'm not familiar with this. So what does he do? He backs up, and he turns around, just like we discussed. Now, this is at 4:05, 4:06. All right, so he backs up and he turns around, and just like we talked about, then drives down, pulls into the driveway, backs out, turns around, does the 3-point turn at King Road, then comes back up, and now it's 407, we'll see him coming back up. And now he's going to make the turn because he's figured out how to get around there, and he's going to drive around. You absolutely see that's a different vehicle. So he's driving around to meet the DoorDash driver. But now we got to figure in, law enforcement says the atrocity starts at 4 a.m. and it's over at 4:20. And we've got a guy that has been sitting in a car for I don't know how many hours that magically gets out of his car right on cue at 3:50 a.m. and walks towards the King Road residence. And I don't have to remind you that at 4:23, somebody returns to that same vehicle he gets out of and drives out of the area. So how does a knucklehead that doesn't show up until 4:07, can't even park his car until 4:09, become a prime suspect when we've got people walking towards the house at 3:50 and leave it at 4:23? Now, I've never seen the guy get out of that same vehicle that we've focused on so many times at 3:50 a.m. and then do it in a very quiet manner. No light shined up, so he somehow opened that door and got out without his dome light coming on. And then he walked towards the King Road residence at 3:50 a.m. And we know somebody returns to that same vehicle at 4:23 and drives off. And then returns again 30 minutes later to pick up the other guy who pops out on the other side of Linda Lane. Now, that's enough video evidence at the time of the unalivings that law enforcement states happened. I mean, those times line up absolutely perfectly. The guy driving around in the car that came into the neighborhood after all the other stuff is going on, that didn't line up at all. But the people walking to the house right during the atrocity and then popping back up and getting picked up and driving off right after the atrocity, they're on camera. They got this on camera. And Taylor, take that to the dadgum prosecutor and get this thing thrown out so they can catch the right people. This is ridiculous. But I'm going to continue watching these things because now I realize that either people that seen them didn't know what they're looking at, or I don't know. But please like and subscribe to the channel. Post your comments, thoughts, criticisms, and happy Halloween to everybody out there. I'll see y'all on Friday. Pavarotti's out.